This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Kindness. We see it all around us. We see it when someone pays for someone else's coffee or holds the door open for another person. We see it in the smallest of gestures, like a smile or a kind word. But it's different when we turn on the news or social media. Oftentimes, what we hear about, what outlets are pushing, is the opposite of kind. Welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. Our goal is to give you a place to relax, to revel in stories of people who have received or given kindness, a place to inspire and motivate each and every one of us to practice kindness every day. Hello and welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. I am your host, Mike Rathbun, and as you noticed from the beginning of the show, we are a member of the Deluxe Edition network of fine podcasts, and as such, the Deluxe Edition has a podcast of the month every month, and this month, that podcast is Take on the World. Mike D and Johnny take on everything the world has to offer. Movies, cryptids, music, conspiracies, UFOs, relationships, food, pro wrestling, and so much more. Their opinions are raw. No topic is taboo except for politics and religion. Tune in and enjoy. Also, please make sure to check out the show notes where you'll find links and discount codes for two companies I've partnered with. Sunday Scaries, a company that makes broad-spectrum CBD gummies, and Coffee Bros, that make an amazing blend of coffees. I use both of these products, and they are nothing short of amazing. Now, let's get into the show. Hey, hello, and welcome, everybody. We have a fantastic show for you today. When I have guests on, and I usually... Sometimes they have a bio they'll let me choose from when I do an intro for them when I write it up. The woman that I have on today, I would love to do a bio for her, but it would take probably the whole 30 minutes of this episode. She's a photographer. She's a homeschool mom. She's a travel writer. She is an entrepreneur. She is a gamer, primarily board games. She's a history aficionado. She's a foodie. She's an artist. But mostly, and this is the thing that brought us together, she is and always has been all about kindness. Welcome to the show, Sarah Stewart.
Thank you for having me. So nice to see you again.
Wow, there is no way somebody could just put you in a neat little box, is there?
No, I really don't like being stuffed into boxes. And I think a lot of us, we spend our time kind of living inside of a misery box that we're told we have to be in all the time, not realizing that box is not locked and it doesn't even have a cover. You could just step out.
So that was an intentional thing. You're like,
Yes.
As soon as you got pretty good at something, you went, nope, I'm doing something else now.
Yeah, I mean, there's that whole, jack of all trades, master of none thing.
Master of none.
I think that fits here, but that is intentional. I certainly have things that I am very good at. I'm not sure that I would say I have anything that I'm excellent at, except for maybe connecting with people, because that's been sort of a common thread throughout all of the things that I've done. But I kind of lived all of my life learning new skills constantly and chasing certificates like it was some sort of disease. And that served me very well. I like learning new things. I like having more ways to help people and engage with people. And that's just, the crux of how I live.
And really, that's what it's all about, isn't it? I mean, and for a while there, during COVID, it was meeting and engaging with new people was kind of frowned upon. And I don't know that I ever got out of that stay at home, don't go out, don't mingle. I wish I could say that I was better at it, but I used to go to a weekly, twice monthly networking event for the Chamber of Commerce when for my paying job, if you will. And I loved those. It was fun to get out and meet those people and, enjoy a breakfast with them and just talk. I have not done that since, well, it was probably actually a little before 2020, but still, yeah, I had a coffee with a friend months ago,
Mm-hmm.
and aside from going out and doing our job and working, and occasionally, my wife and I own a home cleaning business. Occasionally, there will be a client home, and we will chat and engage, and that's lovely. But I don't seek out those things. So, and I don't know why, because it sounds so attractive, right? It
Yes.
sounds so nice.
It does take some work though, right? It takes work on your part to find a thing and go do that thing, arrange things with people, and it takes mental energy, it takes physical energy. So sometimes it feels like it's not really worth it until you're there. So I think we allowed ourselves to get into that habit of not really, getting out of the house and connecting with people. And it's easy to keep that going once you've started.
Yeah, because it does. It gets kind of comfortable there, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Maybe you don't get that, but
I certainly have days where I don't necessarily want to leave my house. Like, don't get me wrong, and sometimes I don't. Although I am surrounded by 10 other people in my house, so even if I don't leave, I'm still socializing unless I stay in my bed.
that's a busy house. That's one busy house right there.
It is. It is.
Um,
It's a lot of logistics.
there's a heavy amount of scheduling going on there, right?
Yes. Yes. Very much.
Everybody knows where they're going to be at what time.
Theoretically. Yeah.
Wow. On paper.
Yeah. Doesn't always
Um,
work out perfectly, but
so,
we do our best.
so let's talk about a few of these things. You're a travel writer.
Yes. So that came about in a very interesting way. I have a question that I always ask people when we're playing the question game. I have a game I like to play with people to get to know them, where I ask a question and then we both have to answer. And then you do the same, and we just do that back and forth forever until we both get bored. And one of my favorite questions to ask in that game is if you could be doing anything with your life. If someone came to you and said, I'm going to just fund you for a couple of years while you chase your dream and get established, what is that dream? What does that look like? And so I asked that question to someone and then realized I wasn't really quite sure I had an answer for it. So that's one of the first times I got to think about, oh, okay, so what is my answer to that? And I said, well, I think I would be, a successful travel writer. That would be really appealing to me. I love traveling. I love connecting with people. I love writing. So that's a great goal for me.
It's a natural
And
fit. Sure.
I think it was 3 or 4 days later, maybe, it was in a very short amount of time, it might have even been sooner than that, I got an email from a place that I had applied to travel write for, and I forgot I even did it. Like, it was just one of those things in passing where sometimes applications for things will come across my desk and I'll just apply for things willy-nilly. And literally within like less than a week of saying that, that's what I was doing. And so then I was travel writing regularly, even during COVID, because I was doing things that were accessible from where I was in Canada. So it allowed me to see a lot more of my local area because I was writing for a Canadian travel company that was specifically focused on Canadian activities, and then sort of branched out
Okay.
from there into doing more freelance work for other publications.
That sounds fascinating. Now, I guess it's on your dime to travel.
It depends. So it really depends on what you're doing. So sometimes I will travel somewhere knowing that I already have a couple of articles that are pre-approved for a publication. And so I know that that's covering, whatever travel expenses I would have to pay for. Often I'll find attractions or accommodations that want to be highlighted in some way. When I'm not just offering to write about a place, I'm also a professional photographer. I do video. There are lots of other things that I can offer. So I'm usually trying to barter in some way so that I can do the things that I enjoy that are cool while also, not breaking the bank.
Wow. Yeah, because I mean, I used to love to travel. I would
Mhm.
road trip for, I used to, because I'm up here in Minneapolis, the Minneapolis area, but I'm originally from Montana. And I'd just get in the car and go.
Oh yeah.
It's about a 12, 14-hour trip, and it's across North Dakota. So, I mean, you're not really missing a whole lot. Oh, I shouldn't say that.
I love
Um,
North Dakota.
do you?
Yeah, it's pretty.
The only fascinating part of North Dakota are the Badlands.
Yes, I mean
Really,
that's really
that's
what
all
I
I
went
can say.
for, to be fair. But
Okay, all right.
I don't know. I
Um,
find beauty and art everywhere, so
you have a very unique ability to look at something, and the average person might go, "Well, that is the homeliest thing I've ever seen," and you, Sarah Stewart, can look at it and go, "Absolutely not. That is beautiful. Look at this and this and this." Lichens, I believe you're a big
oh,
fan of.
I love my lichens. Yes, I find we could have a whole entire podcast about lichens. No, I really get very excited about lichens for a couple of reasons. They're really super cool. Like from afar, it just looks like splotches of color on a tree or a rock or wherever. They're everywhere. But once you get up close, it's like a tiny alien landscape. So it's just that, splash of surprise in the world, which I really love.
Yeah.
But also they're pretty understudied considering they're actually a very important part of the environment. So I kind of really enjoy things that there's still more to learn about.
And I think that's what drives a lot of this, isn't it? For
Hmm.
you is your desire to learn.
Yes, always. I mean, I think that it's important to always be learning, whether it's, learning new things or learning about ourselves. Introspection, I think, is very important. So, a big part of my life has always been thinking about why I'm doing what I'm doing and how it's affecting me and the people around me and learning and growing from that. And then I then take that out into the rest of my life too and find things that interest me, things that will help my family. I remember I took my teaching. I'm an archery coach solely because my daughters would learn archery with my uncle in Nova Scotia, but we only went there a few times a year, and they really liked it, and I wanted to be able to support their interest in between as well. And so I just went and got
Sure.
certified to coach archery. Not because there was any other real reason for that, but because it was an easy way to, help the people around me. And so I've done that quite a few
Sure.
times, literally just targeted, I'm going to go do this training because it will be helpful to someone near me.
That that's I I cannot grasp. I cannot get my head around the energy in you. It's just I don't think I've ever met another human being that is like literally you are the human embodiment of the Energizer Bunny.
Well, yes, but I also do take a lot of time to rest. I work hard and I play hard, but I also rest hard.
When?
When I say rest, you have to understand that a lot of my work I can do
Probably
from my
doesn't look
phone
like
while
the
laying
rest
in
of
bed.
ours. What?
Yeah. So I am often still doing things, and I do admit that I probably could use a little more actual rest in my life, going somewhere and not actually doing any work or engaging on a deep level with people, like actual rest. I'm not sure I do a lot of that unless I'm really, really ill or injured. So that's something I'm still working on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe if you were injured, that would be some higher power's way of saying you need to slow down.
I've thought of that a few times. I have, yeah.
Um, so tell me about, gosh, tell me about everything. Um, okay, and I said you were a gamer, but
Yes.
I had to preface that with primarily board games. You're not, you're not Xbox kind of gamer,
Well, there's a reason
or
for that,
are you?
actually. So, no, but very deliberately, because I had some times in my youth where I lost a lot of time to video games. And I really do. I really like video games, and I like video games a little too much. So once I start, I need to finish. So
Oh,
I decided quite some time ago that maybe video games weren't for me at this season in my life. And maybe they'll loop back around sometime. I'm not gonna lie, I have a few games just saved on Steam waiting for a day when I'm not too busy. So like when I'm 90 or so.
yeah, right.
But board games, yes, that is something that I sit down for a half an hour to 2 hours and play with people and connect, and then I can step away from it if I need to. So we have 1,200 board games in our house, and probably over 1,200 now. I haven't counted in a while. Literally every room in our house, I think, has board games on some shelf somewhere. And we go to the World Board Game Championships every year, their whole family, and take part in that.
Where is that held?
In Pennsylvania, actually.
Really?
Yes. So we've been going there for
Did not.
years. It's been going on forever. Before it was Avalon Con. Do you remember the old Avalon Hill games? Like they had a convention, and then it just rolled into being broad for more games. But now there are 120 some tournaments every year. It's 10 days at a off-season ski resort.
Oh my
And there
God.
are 120 some tournaments. You can take part in whichever ones you'd like. There's also a big open gaming room, so they have a huge library to pull from if you don't want to do competitive gaming. And then it's off-season ski resort, so there are lots of other things to do too. There's a spa, there are a couple of pools, bowling, and arcade, a whole bunch of outdoor activities. So they have an alpine slide, Euro bungee, rock climbing. Like it's a really cool 10 days.
Hey everybody, we will be right back with more of my conversation with Sarah Stewart right after this quick message from another Deluxe Edition Network podcast.
Since the beginning of cinematic time, which for these three dumb bastards is just about as long as they can remember. These men, moviegoers and enthusiasts, throwing in a simple yet common goal: to enjoy any and all feature presentations in the most enlightened state of mind. But for the few of us who seek an entirely different cinematic mentality, I give you your solution.
You ain't heard nothing yet. It's showtime, folks. It's showtime.
You fellas been doing a bit of boozing, have you? Sucking back on Grandpa's old cough medicine?
I had about a half a beer, but the dog had a lot.
I have a very particular set of skills. I was drunk. I'm drunk now.
It was the greatest beer in all the world. Once it hits your lips.
These men are literally intoxicated. This is their reality. These are real men, and this is real beer. I give you Jake, Matt, and Daniel of the Real Drunks Podcast.
Wow, that sounds like an adventure-packed 10 days.
It is, and it's the first games of the day start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and the last games start at 11 o'clock. So it can be a very long day too, if you
And I used to play board games, not as much anymore. Oh, who am I kidding? Not at all. But I remember. Oh shoot! Now I forgot the name of the game. Risk.
Oh,
the game Risk.
Yes.
I remember being involved in like a week long game of Risk one time, and it was the most exhausting, exhilarating week of my life.
Well, honestly, some people go there just for the war games. So upstairs, away from all of the board games that only take half an hour to 2 hours, there's the wargaming section. Yeah. So all of these giant tables set up, and people are literally there playing one game for almost the whole entire time. It's madness. That's certainly not for me. I find it really interesting to watch sometimes, and I have wargamer friends, and it's interesting to listen to, but I don't think I have it in me to sit and do the same thing for 25 hours.
Yeah. Well, there's that. Okay. I'm gonna pause myself for a second. You go ahead and keep it up.
Oh, it's a moment. Okay.
So.
Well, we've lost Mike.
Now
so.
you.
There we go.
What's that? Mike's
we've
gone.
Lost Mike. There we go.
He's gone. He'll be back. So, and all of this is all wrapped around, for you, I get the sense, this sense of kindness, of being kind.
It is. I think we don't have enough of that in the world, and I think there's. I'd like to also point out that there's a difference between being nice and kind, but I think kindness is something that we don't have enough of. That connection between people that's so important. We're really taught to isolate ourselves, to isolate our family groups, and then to compete for resources, which is pretty much the exact opposite of how we all succeed as people. We really need more collaboration and kindness. I couldn't tell you the number of times that I talk to anyone who reaches out to me. And sometimes it might take me a while to get to all of the messages, but I make a point of it to always respond to anyone who makes an effort to reach out to me. And you wouldn't believe the number of times where that has made such a difference for someone, just having someone to connect with for a moment. And, I'm sure you've seen on the internet that there are lots of times where, ladies will get very inappropriate messages from people on Facebook or wherever. And usually the answer to that is block, but not for me. So I actually, my way of dealing with that is to say, okay, well, that's interesting. Why don't we have a conversation about why you felt that was an appropriate way to start a conversation with a stranger?
Oh, really?
And you might be surprised at the results of that, because I would say about 80% of the time, the answer really just boils down to, I needed to feel some connection to someone, and this was the only way I could get it.
That's incredibly depressing. But
It
I'm
is.
sure. And I know my wife likes to play the bubble games on her tablet. And or no. Oh, it was Words with Friends. That's where it was getting.
Oh, I love that game.
And, she's so good at it too. But she would always get messages, and she had her actual name. That I don't know that it necessarily there's a gender to that name. It's Marty, like Mardi Gras. Mm-hmm. Okay, and if she was playing somebody that was easily identified as a male, they would invariably, "Hi, how you doing?" I don't know that it's been worse than that, but it was annoying to her.
Yeah.
You don't really think. We automatically label a person like that as a creep or a something negative. And we don't stop to think that perhaps that person, any interaction, would be what they were looking for. Not necessarily what we think they're looking for.
Yes, people are so isolated, like so incredibly isolated. And so I had a conversation with someone once where I was promoting an event and I was inviting people on Facebook, and someone reached out to me and said, "Will there be any LGBTQ people there?" And I said, "Well, let's start with why you're asking. Do you want to know because you want to know if there's anyone there you identify with, or do you want to know because you want to avoid it if there are?"
Harassment,
right?
Yeah.
Let's assess why you're asking first, and then we'll answer your question. And so it was the bad one, and that's all right. So okay, let's then have a conversation about that. So we started to just ask some questions. Okay, so why does that make you uncomfortable? Okay, why do you feel that all gay people are bad and evil and mentally ill? Like, let's talk about this, okay? And so we had a conversation, and about an hour in, he said, "I really want to thank you for actually having this conversation with me, because by the time, no one ever gets this far, because as soon as I say anything negative, people just start calling me names and disappear." Click. And so we talked a bit more, and I said, "Well, you've established that you really enjoy talking to me and that you think I'm a good person. I'm also as queer as they come. So now how do you feel about that topic, right? Like, let's explore that. Obviously not all gay people, right? So let's think about that for a moment." And so it was just really interesting to have that kind of a conversation with someone who clearly has a very different opinion than I do. But at the end of that conversation, he said, I feel like I should tell you this. At the beginning of the day before I had a conversation with you, I was planning on killing myself later tonight. And now I'm not going to do that. And that's not the only time that's ever happened by me just having a conversation with someone. People are not feeling like they're heard. People are isolated. People do not have enough connection or enough kindness, which I think is why that's so important in my life, and it sort of underscores everything I do. You never know when just something as small as having a brief conversation with someone can change someone's trajectory.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw something the other day. It might have been a pin, it might have been a bumper sticker, I don't remember. But I thought, we need to have more of that. It said, "How are you? ... Really?" And that is so important and so necessary. I think we're recording this in September, which is Suicide Awareness Month, but it probably won't go out until October. But still, listen, and that really is such an important thing. And I used to think about this, how we all go about our day, right? And when we were in the office, if we were ever in the office, and you'd say, "How's it going?"
Mm-hmm.
And then you kept walking, right?
Yeah.
We never stopped to listen to that response.
Mm-hmm.
And how much better so many other lives would be if we just stopped and listened to that response.
Absolutely. And actually listen too. I think one of the best things I've ever heard is, are you actually listening or are you just waiting to respond?
Yes. Are you listening to respond or are you listening to understand?
Mm-hmm. So I think you're right. We just need to make a little bit more effort to listen to the people around us. And I couldn't tell you how many times I've asked someone, "Oh, how are you?" And they've said, "Oh, fine," or "Everything's good." Like, are you sure? Because it doesn't really seem like it. Like, let's ask one more time.
Yeah, and that seems like a really hard thing to do because you don't want to be seen as being nosy or whatever the case may be. But yes, that little follow-up, "Are you though?"
Yeah. I usually let people know, like, not everyone wants to talk about their problems, but if I can sense that someone is not quite doing okay, I'll never push, but I will always let people know, I'm here to listen and help if you need that. So come to me if you want, but never any pressure to communicate, unless you're really close with me, and then there's a little bit of pressure to communicate.
You'd better. Oh, yeah, because that's I could go on and on. Just there's a whole lot of other things I have on my list of things that talk to us about, because I can't let you go without plugging something. Is it
Polykindred? Is that what you're?
Thank you.
Yes.
I was thinking polykindness, and I don't know why. The Polykindred Market.
Yes, so we do a lot of things, like we've discussed, and by me, I mean me, and then everyone else sort of in my community. So lots of people who are makers and do cool things, consult on different topics, lots of people who are artists. So we have our little arts and consulting collective of Polykindred where we sort of pull that all together. And we have an art show coming up in October. We just finished doing a little project where over my birthday, we all painted, everyone who showed up at my birthday painted dolls, and we sent them out into the community with little kindness affirmations attached to them for people to find and come back and tell us, something positive about their week. So we try to, engage in community in any way we can, support each other in artistic endeavors, because it's hard as an artist to actually make a go of it. So the more support and community you have behind you, I think the easier that gets.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, you have somebody pushing you, holding you accountable, and yeah, I wanted to be an artist when I was a kid.
Still
I told
time.
my dad, and he said, "You know why they're called starving artists, right?"
Oh, you know what, Mike?
Fine.
You wouldn't
I
believe
know.
how many times
I
I've
know.
heard that exact story, and it makes me so sad. Art is such an important thing for humans, not just, not just actual visual art, but dance and singing and music. Those are all things that we have come to think that we have to be really good at in order to do. We have to be able to monetize it or be excellent at it. No, go sing badly. Go make some crappy art. That's still really important. It's that process of creating that's so important to our souls as humans that we're just ignoring if we're not great at it and can't make money from it.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. Is podcasting, is that an art form?
I would
Because
say
that
so.
feeds my soul.
Absolutely it is. And if it makes you happy,
Maybe.
that's what's important.
It is whatever you say it is.
That's right.
It was. I'm like jazzed right now. I feel like I need to go out and build an Eiffel Tower or something.
I'll help.
Just talking to you, what's that?
I said, I'll help.
You'll help?
Let's go.
Do it. Thank you so much for sharing time with me today, Sarah. I really, really appreciate it. And I keep doing what you're doing, man. I don't know. I don't know where you find the energy, but I love what you're doing. I love what you're putting out in the world, and just keep that up. We'll have all of your links in the show notes. And thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Wow. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I've drank about 5 shots of espresso right now. I am just wired up. Amazing conversation with Sarah Stewart, and it's just, she's so full of energy, and listening to what she does, it just boggles my mind. I get worn out and yet energized at the same time, right? I especially like what she said towards the end of the conversation, though, when she was talking about dealing with or listening to people, even if it's online. You never know whose life you might make a little bit better just by engaging in a conversation with them. And I think that's going to be one of my takeaways. I'm sure you'll have your own. Love to hear about it. Drop me an email at mike@thekindnessmatterspodcast.com, or DM me on one of my social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, we're there. Follow us, and let me know what your thoughts are. I thought it was a fantastic conversation. But all things must come to an end, and that's the end of this episode for this week. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. In the meantime, though, be that person who roots for others, who tells a stranger that they look amazing, and encourages others to believe in themselves and their dreams. You have been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast, and I am your host, Mike Rathbun. Do me a favor and have a fantastic week.